Hey folks, it's Eric from Rising Nomad, and in this video I'm going to talk about neurodivergence on the island of Koh Phangan and the community of people that this island attracts from all over the world. Why do we come here? Seems like a liberation, doesn't it? A liberation from what? Social systems that we deem oppressive to the way that we are. So let's first start by defining what I mean by neurodivergence. Yeah, we'll get going. I just need to pay attention because I'm riding a bicycle in the middle of Street Tanu while I am making this video. You know what? I'm going to slow down a bit and walk. Seems like the right thing to do. Vroom vroom. So neurodivergence is, I suppose I would define it, if I'm explaining it to you without looking at a definition, people whose brains work differently than normal people. And there's lots of them here. So what does that mean? It means there's lots of people here who are attracted to a place where they can be themselves, right? We all know this, we all feel this. Many of us are living this. And so how does that sort of like pan out in a community? Well, first of all, I would say that people like places like this, Thailand, because the local culture kind of leaves you alone. It kind of lets you do your own thing. If you're weird, they just think it's because you're a foreigner. They don't think of whether there's something quote unquote wrong with you. So basically, like, it's possible just to, go through life here without being bothered by the expectations of the normal people in society that expect you to speak, act, and otherwise behave in a certain way that basically, doesn't suit you. So what am I trying to say here? Is this island a bunch of freaks? Yes. Do I love it? Yes. Is there something wrong with being neurodivergent? No. Absolutely not. In fact, many of us who are, and I include myself in that, would actually point to many of the benefits that our quote-unquote gifts have given us in our lives. I'll get into my personal story a bit later. But a lot of what drives us to a place like this is our challenges in normal society, in places that expect you to be following certain social rules, speaking the language in a certain way, and fitting into the sort of social plan of how a person is supposed to succeed in society. That stuff can be utterly torturous to us, neurodivergent people. And so a lifestyle like this is preferable somehow. But people are always coming and going because I feel like there's a tendency to sort of like feel the freedom that you have here, and then it kind of degrades into a sort of emptiness that a lot of people come into when they're here, because you think that changing the place is going to be a solution for your problems, but then you come here and you realize the problem is up here. The problem is inside your brain. And so then you start to, because you still have the same problems, even though the pressure has been taken off, because you're in a place where you can literally ride a motorbike anywhere you like and kind of just behave how you like, make friends with whom you like, and not be bothered by social norms of a localized culture, because everybody else, or lots of other people, are as strangely departed from consensus reality as you are. Lots of us have used lots of things like psychedelic drugs in our lives to explore more our own psychology, this beautiful thing that's called existence. And that makes us even more different. That makes us break free of the matrix even more. And so it's easy to go too far here if you're not grounded in something. It's easy to fall into it addiction, when you're living a life which is almost fiction, living your life without any mission. You can tell lies and they'll stop and they'll listen. That's a lyric from one of my songs, which is called Ain't No Paradise, by my band Worldly Savages, about life on this island, which basically says, like, yeah, once you reach this point, it's kind of like a final destination of having to confront your own mind and whatever chaos, trauma, and noise there is in there. So yeah, lots of people do slip into darker versions of themselves here because they're given the space to do so. So you gotta watch out for that. But lots of people go through healing journeys as well, where they triumphantly emerge from a life of suffering, grateful for so many different possibilities and the things that they've been given in their life. Yeah. If this doesn't sound crazy to you, if this sounds like it's something that you can resonate with, like, tell me what it brings up for you in the comments. But I really feel like in a community like this, that's growing, let's face it, you know, digital nomads like myself are able to live in a place like this for a longer period than ever before without doing something that registers in society in the same way you would have had to before. And so we're increasingly going to have a need for methods to overcome a lot of the problems that we have. I'm not aware of any actual licensed psychologist who practices in English on the island. Maybe I'm wrong. If there is, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to meet the person. I'd be the first to sign up and go to therapy because I'm still discovering myself and all of the stuff that I need to learn about myself to be the person that I want to be in the future. There's no psychiatrists in English as far as I can tell. And there's a lot of people who have a lot of wisdom about various subjects of self-discovery. And there's a lot of people who kind of wing it, let's say. Maybe they mean well, but they kind of wing it. And a lot of the time, their own shadows and their own issues can come through in trying to help others deal with their issues. Whether it be actual mental health issues like depression, neurodivergence, various personality disorders and stuff like that. I mean, it's just, this place attracts people like that, and it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful that life here is such an open sort of thing that you can explore those parts of yourself. But I think we really need to get some really well-trained psychological and psychiatric professionals on this island as the community continues to grow. They'd have a field day over here if they set up, you know? And yeah, but again, I don't want to discount the value of all these people who have amassed so much wisdom with their unorthodox ways of treating stuff, of releasing trauma, of exploring ideas and all this sort of stuff. Because, you know, I'm an IT professional, so-called IT professional, because I don't have a computer science degree. But when I, you know, looked at getting a computer science degree, it didn't actually help me hone. None of the information there was really going to help me do what I did innately, which was figure out how to fix computers. And human minds and souls and hearts are probably the same. And so we also have to look at another thing. Neurodivergence, stuff like ADHD, autism and stuff like that, has benefits. Lots of challenges, but lots of benefits for the way that society can benefit from having these people put in a place where their skills actually are appreciated, where the nature of their consciousness is managed and systematized so that they can give their best without encountering the much more torturous aspects of existing in a society. You know, it's really like an evolution of humanity that's occurred here. And I think most of it is in response to the technology of information, television, stuff that we grew up with. Computers coming into our lives at a certain point, and more recently mobile phones and stuff. I mean, all this stuff is like, has changed the way our consciousness perceives and relates information. And some of us have various adaptive strategies towards that. Now let's get into my personal thing. I've had ADHD for a while, and I've suspected I'm somewhere on the autism spectrum for a while. And just last week I started talking to an ADHD coach in Australia, Dave, the awesome ADHD coach. And he basically, confirmed this for me. I mean, ADHD, I used to take the meds. First it was Ritalin, then it was dextroamphetamine. Then I went off a bunch of that stuff. Stopped taking it because I didn't like how it was making me. But then when I became an entrepreneur, I started taking modafinil, which was a good sort of lighter version and really good way to help me get the work of building my business done and focus on stuff and get that laser focus and get stuff done, have motivation and really see the clarity of my visions and have the focus and hard work to actually bring them to reality. So that was really important to me when I was building my business, but I don't take it anymore. I mean, the only stimulant I take now is coffee in the morning at 7 a.m. And, you know, because my business is successful now, I've delegated all the tasks that I find onerous and focus consuming. And I've kind of settled into this life on this island, which is much more about feeling who I am and owning that shit. But even I, over the last couple of years, as you can see depicted in a slightly fictionalized music video I made, Embrace the Void, Eric and the Worldly Savages, Embrace the Void. You can check out that video and you'll see the depiction of a struggle with alcohol, which is real, by the way. Haven't had a drink in like over 1 month now, but you know, somehow alcohol is something that I've turned to self-medicate to calm down my anxious mind, hyperactivity and all this sort of stuff. And, you know, over the past years, I've gone off and on it, you know, mostly drinking on the weekends, sober in the week and stuff like that, but going a bit too far in medicating myself and like all that sort of stuff. So that's one thing. But now I'm exploring this like consciousness, which is all about being myself and owning my neurodivergence and understanding it, understanding, you know, healthy ways to regulate myself and soothe my emotions and thoughts that aren't about taking substances. Except for coffee in the morning, that stuff just gets me going. And, you know, I sit there for 2 hours with the coffee and get all my emails answered from the day before, and then I can, you know, walk around and make videos, ride my bicycle around the island and stuff like that. So they're all tools, folks. The drugs are tools. The therapists are tools. Well, some of them are I would call tools, as in like squares or whatever. But a lot of the people here are doing great work with unorthodox healing methods. Respect to that. But you also got to watch out for people who are working from their shadows. Not working on their shadows, but working from their shadows. Because in a place that's so accepting of neurodivergence and different characters, let's say, it can be a sort of festering ground for various personality disorders like borderline, narcissism, manipulative people who are living really a schizophrenic delusion of their life. you tell your lies and they stop and they listen. All sorts of, it's hard to separate the spiritual from the insane sometimes. And spirituality can make you seem insane, and neurodivergence can make you seem insane. So it's really a jungle out there, folks. If there's one takeaway I'd like to see is, like, if anybody knows a mental professional who's like licensed psychologist or psychiatrist who's looking for a new interesting place to live where they can study interesting neurodivergent sort of people, I would suggest that you suggest that they move here, and I'm sure they'll get lots of clients, or maybe not, I don't know. But definitely I would like to be a client of those types of sort of basically like people who actually have done training and research for this sort of thing. And I'm also always open to having a good chat with any other human being who can help me understand myself better, live a more satisfied and fulfilled life, and basically do better in achieving my goals, do better in exploring myself, and do better in building the type of community that a lot of us really long for on this island. Yeah, we really long for the sense of community, but there's still a lot of infighting in the community because there's all these people with different ways of looking at reality, different quirks and idiosyncratic modes of being. There's a lot of infighting. I call it hippie hater pants. You put on your hippie hater pants and, well, you might smile and say hello to somebody, you're talking behind their back. It's like something really interesting in human psychology. But this video is mostly a call out to everybody to explore themselves, seek to understand themselves, love themselves, and lead from that. Heal yourself. Work on having more harmonious ways of interacting with others that involves your taking responsibility for your own life and not blaming other people for your problems. And yeah, life here continues to be beautiful. I'll leave it on that. Catch you guys later.